Hey friends, I am presently in Japan. It's been a super long time since I made an update. I think I've recorded maybe 3 or 4, but I keep getting too shy to post them. I don't know why, I'm weird about it, but it's totally happening. Sorry if I'm shaking a bunch. I put this on top of my backpack and I hope that it's gonna stay put. We'll see what happens. Basically, around the time I made the Next T Next, which I still hope to return to one day, I found out that my mom got a grant to study Japanese folk music in Japan for 6 weeks. And she teaches elementary school in Indiana, and she does music. So I was thinking that Japanese culture and traditions and all those kind of things that come into folk songs are going to be way too much for her kids to understand. So I set about making skits to record in Japan, which we're doing now. So the last 6 months has been preparing for this trip, which is why I haven't done much else, because I've been getting my my work ready. I work online, writing for a gadget tech site, so primarily that's what I had to do to work for that, but I was also writing the scripts, and we made puppets and travel itinerary and that kind of thing. So now I'm here, and we're recording all of those skits and doing all of that work. So that's why NXT hasn't happened. I'm sorry to all the people that subscribed right after that came out and then nothing happened. But that's life. I mean, hopefully I get to return to it when I get back, but for now, I'm in Japan. There's no way I'm going to record anymore. What I have been doing lately is my roommate, Martin and Mariana, we have been doing these Fanfic Friday videos. I will put a link to that down in the bottom. And that has been super fun, where we just, it's a really short exercise where we pick out 2 characters, a scenario, and a location, and then we have 30 minutes to write a story based on that information. Let's see, I got like Garfield and Hannibal Lecter at a library making something up. So I had 30 minutes to write a story based on that information, and it was pretty interesting. But for now, in Japan, because I'm in Japan, my sister has been very nice. She's actually at work right now, but she is letting us stay in her apartment in Tokyo, so that has been a really great headquarters for us to stay at. So I wanted to say where we've been thus far, because I have all these videos that I want to post, but I don't want to post them randomly without it making sense of what they are, why they're there. So thus far, we got here on the 8th, I believe, 8th or 9th of June, and since then we've gone so many places. We got into Tokyo, and then the next day we flew out to Hokkaido to go to Sapporo. I know I said that really wrong and bad, even though I've studied 2 years of Japanese, but my Japanese is like really terrible, and I get really again, I'm a really shy person. Like, I'm really confident in some situations, but in other situations I'm like, no, don't look at me, I'm sorry. So yes, we went to Hokkaido, and then we were there for only a couple days for the Soran Festival. Got so much great footage there. We got to see so many performances. That was honestly probably the best festival I've ever been to, ever. For Japanese culture-wise, that was really a really great starting event. I don't think anything is going to be that animated. If you ever go to Hokkaido, please go to the Soran Festival. Plan your trip around going to that experience, because it was just so cool. So many people dancing, they were lively the whole time. I mean, there was several days of performances, and the energy level was constant, the same every time. And it wasn't just young people performing. I mean, there were women who were 60s or 70s, maybe even 80s. There were little old guys dancing and little kids. There were people dancing with their babies swaddled around them. It was really cool. So when we went back to Tokyo, we decided to go to Hakone, which is basically at the base of Mount Fuji. And so the night before we planned that trip, we had no idea that we were going to go do that. We knew we wanted to at some point, we just didn't know when. And we went there on the Shinkansen, and it was cloudy. We knew it was going to be kind of cloudy and that we probably wouldn't get to see the top, but you get to Hakone, and then you have to take a boat, and the boat takes you to the base of the mountain. Then you're supposed to be able to look up and see the majestic Mount Fuji. But as we were on the boat, which is this awesome, huge pirate ship boat, fog came off of the mountains and we like started hitting the water. We were like, oh, that seems weird for clouds to like come and touch water. I'm not really used to that. And so we got on the dock. We were only at our destination for maybe 20 or 30 minutes. And then one of the last ships for the night was leaving. So we had to either stay there or start back. As we were getting on the boat, we were like, maybe we'll get a chance to see Mount Fuji. All of this fog, I mean, the most dense fog I've ever seen in my life came down to the point where we were on the boat, like docked at the dock, and we couldn't see the dock because it was so foggy. It was hilarious. After that, we went back and I don't think we went anywhere. We went to Kyoto. Oh yeah, we went to Hiei Shrine for the Sano Festival. It's like a lot of very traditional, for like Peace of Tokyo, very formal, very, you know, we watched the tea ceremony and every single movement mattered. It was, you have to make the tea, you have to wipe the cup, you have to wipe the bowl, you have to set it down, you have to bow to this person, bow to that person, go up to the altar and offer prayer, and there was music, and we got to hear all these traditional instruments. It was so cool. And then over the last weekend we went to Kyoto and we saw like 6 or 7 temples. We ran ourselves pretty ragged. It was a really cool experience. And there's in Kiyomizu, there's a little tiny restaurant called Bazu, and it has like an ice cream cone sitting out front, and there's this little old lady named Hisako-san. She is the liveliest, most wonderful old lady in Kyoto, and if you're ever in that area, definitely go there. You will never regret that decision ever. So some interesting stuff about Japan is that the toilets are pretty terrifying. They're also very classy in a very strange way. I had the experience where I opened a door, toilet seat popped up, and then you sit down and there's classical music playing, and it doesn't make sense, but it wasn't a bad experience. Yeah. So food is also very expensive. Most of the time you're going to be eating rice or noodles, or bread. Bread is very good here. Like really, really good. Bread is really good here, and it's really hard to get veggies or fruit. They're very, oh my gosh. Like very, very, very expensive. A lot of things are expensive here that you wouldn't expect to be expensive here. Transit is really complicated. There's like Passmo, which you want to get a Passmo card and load it ahead of time, and that way you can get in and out of the stations, and that's just for the regular trains. Shinkansen is way more expensive, and if you're going to be traveling, like if you're a foreigner and you want to travel, you want to get a JR pass. They're very expensive up front, like several $100s depending on what kind of car type you're getting. But if you don't do that, there's a weekend trip we're taking this coming weekend to Kyushu, and two of our friends are going with us, and it was $1,300 for 2 people. And ours was, you know, that's what we paid for our whole transit for basically an entire month, and we can go wherever we want. Definitely worth it. JR Pass, please do it. All the stations are really cool because they have their own little jingle. When the doors are closing, they have a jingle. They have a jingle for when the doors are opening. Every station has a unique one, and it's because people in Japan that are like live the salaryman work lifestyle, where they get up at like 5 or 6 in the morning and work until really late at night. They're always exhausted. It's very, very common to see people asleep literally anywhere, on the stairs, at restaurants, at a park, on the subway. Very, very, very common. Those jingles are to help people know when they need to listen for what station. Even today, there was a guy who was asleep on the bus, or the train, and he heard the jingle and like woke up and ran off really quickly. So I think that's what helps people to get everywhere. And everything in Japan is so polite and considerate. There are little plates along the side of the street to stop you from like walking in rain in the gutter. Everyone carries umbrellas with them when it rains, and then there's like usually like a basket or something that everyone can put their umbrella in when they're going inside a restaurant or a store. And generally you don't have to worry about people taking your umbrella. Generally. We've had ours switched out once or twice before, and it was just no big deal. They were like, ah, whatever, you can take this one, it's fine. Oh, and so many buildings are old. Like, we went to a lot of shrines and temples and that sort of thing, and some of the places we went to are over 1,000 years old. There are some places that haven't been renovated or anything for over 400 years, and the paint was still in perfect condition, the tiles were still in perfect condition. We saw a tree that was 500 years old. A tree that is older than America. So it's been really cool to see all of the history, and there's so much history everywhere. Like, everywhere you look, there are signs, and thankfully my sister is fluent in Japanese. Her boyfriend is from Japan, so he knows a little bit more history and can point us into different places that we might, like, we walked past a very, very historic street in Kyoto, and if he hadn't pointed it out, I would have had no idea what it was. And statues and all sorts of things that you wouldn't be aware of if you didn't have a guide with you. Oh, one of the really cool things with shrines and the stations is that you can get these stamp books. It's probably a little hard to see this, but you can get these stamp books, and if you go to the temple, it's like 300 yen, which is the equivalent of like $3, and the people at the shrine will do calligraphy for you, and they give you a special stamp that's like the motto of the shrine or temple that you're at, and you get to watch them make this. I mean, the stamp is like a stamp, but you get to watch them do the calligraphy. We've been to like a lot of temples, so I have a million stamps in here, but it's really cool because different places all have obviously a lot of different people working there, so sometimes people are really fast and fluid and perfect handwriting, and other people are like younger and take a little bit longer, but we've also seen some young people who are really, really fast and really, really good at what they did. But a lot of places won't let you do a video. I actually have a million videos of things from around Japan and that sort of thing, so I'm gonna post those. I just didn't want to post them without letting anyone know what has been going on and why I'm in Japan and all that sort of thing. You can find little stamp spots in different places, and those are just for like the train stations though, and then there are also like in Nara and stuff, you can find individual stamps for different spots too. But it's really cool. You just kind of have to plan out where you're going, and honestly things in Japan, it's a lot more convenient for tourists to come in now. There's a lot of people who speak English. There are a lot of English signs. There's a lot of things to help you find your way around, and people are very, very polite and helpful, but it's still very, very easy to get overwhelmed. There's so much information, there's so much sound, there's so much everything. It's really easy to get overwhelmed. I even speak a little bit of Japanese and I get overwhelmed very quickly. I'll be posting all sorts of little tidbits of videos from this and that, and then I'll keep posting over the next several weeks. I do have Wi-Fi. I have a little, you have to buy pocket Wi-Fi when you're in Japan. That's basically your phone, because not many people really get phone plans because there's Line and Skype and all that kind of thing. So next we're headed to Yamagata, and because there's a folk song there. The whole trip is based on folk songs, so we're traveling based on that information and recording our skits as we go along. And so it's Yamagata, and then we'll go to Kyushu, and then I think we're gonna go to Hiroshima. I'm gonna say these names wrong, I'm sorry. And then we go to Okinawa for like a week. We have, thankfully, a friend who lives down that way, so we're gonna go stay with them. And then we come back to Tokyo, and we'll be here, I'm pretty sure, for the rest of the time until we head back on like the 13th or something. So, should be fun. It's gonna be great. Sorry I haven't updated in like forever. I'll try and be better about it. I just gotta get over being so shy about everything. Thanks for hanging out, watching my video. I'm sorry this is insanely long, but there's so much information, and I want to share all of this awesome trip with you guys. So it was awesome talking to you guys, and I hope that you have wonderful adventures, and I will talk to you next time.